And hello. It is the Absolute Football Podcast, the Lite. And if you've seen one of these before, you know I don't come alone. I don't come particularly for the topic we're talking about because Charlotte is here too. Well, we're adding Charlotte in. It's taken a little while to load. There's Charlotte. She's there. Hello.
I'm
How are
here.
you? I
I'm
thought
good. How are
you
you?
turned your lights off. Then it had gone dark. I'm very well. How are you today? How are things in Charlotte's world?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm excited for this topic as well because with my team, I've had no wins recently. So it's nice to celebrate everyone else's victories.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk trophy wins, and we don't have to go there. There's no
I know.
League Two coverage tonight. We are full on excitement.
Yes.
We are, of course, talking about the Carabao Cup final, Manchester United versus Newcastle United, which I am very excited. Obviously, being a Manchester United fan, to talk about. We were saying off camera, can you believe the one podcast I've missed in about 20 weeks was this week, of all weeks, with Manchester United with something to talk about. So as well as Josh and Lucas did, the little cheeky chappies, Arsenal Liverpool fan on Monday, I thought, no, we need to have a proper dive into what happened in the game. So there was only one person I was going to ask to go through that with me, and of course it would be you to go through the joys of that match. So cast your mind back to Sunday, Manchester United, Newcastle United. Where were you sitting pre-game? Were you thinking it's United's to lose, or do you think it was going to be a 50-50 shot?
Well, it was quite funny actually because in my Twitter Q&A that I did a few weeks ago, I had Newcastle. This was before United Newcastle final. I thought Newcastle were going to win a cup, and I had them down for this one. But as obviously it progressed, and I thought it's Manchester United Newcastle final, I just swayed more towards United, and I just think Ten Hag, his mentality, just the way United are playing at the minute, as much as Newcastle are doing well, I just think Manchester United are far too strong. And just the trophy mentality that Ten Hag has obviously got in himself and the players, the rest of the staff, I just thought, no, it's Manchester United 100%. What about you? Was you confident or was you really nervous?
I think as it got closer, I got nervous. I don't know what it was. I think it was all the pictures of, because to be fair, Newcastle brought a phenomenal support. They literally say
Yes.
all the pictures in Trafalgar Square and all the nightmare. When that sort of stuff, I'm thinking, okay, this is massive for Newcastle. Of course it is. You'd heard the narrative of how long it had been, but then when you saw it in the supporters, and you're thinking the players been waiting for this. Now Newcastle have, to be fair, dropped off a little bit, haven't they? Recently, they're struggling for goals.
Yeah.
It's not the same. They obviously the Nick Pope thing. They had a few issues in terms of squad. So that was giving me hope, the confidence off the back of Barcelona. But I was also a little bit concerned as to whether that would kind of go one way or the other for us. But yeah, in general, I just got a lot more confidence in this team that they can do it. But to see them do it, to see them get over the line when it mattered and played not phenomenally, not out there, at the top level in terms of some of their attacking play, particularly in the first half, but how they managed the game gives me even more confidence. So, yeah, I don't know. It's when it's your own team, you never know. You never know. No matter how confident you can be, there's always that nagging doubt in the back of your mind going, you remember finals you've won, finals you've lost, even though it's got nothing to do with these players. So, pre-game, I wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. But then, as I said, first half for me.
Did it?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, go.
Did it bring back any old memories, like under Alex Ferguson and stuff, like being in final? Because obviously it won a trophy under Mourinho, but did it bring back some sort of old memories? Because I just think at the minute watching Manchester is reminding me of old times.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think probably because there has been some finals, the finals since, obviously, we won the EFL Cup under Mourinho. Van Gaal won the FA Cup. Probably those being the most in recent memory. The Newcastle one says, as Chris joins us in the chat, say, yeah, of course, that was the 1999 final, the 2-0 against Newcastle was the one I remember. And yeah, number 10 and number 18 scored. So lightning does strike twice. That, of course, part of the treble. So that's probably the one thing in my mind. But it did. It just seems such a 6 years seems a long time for a Manchester United fan. I know, you don't want to sound greedy in terms of what we've had, what we've done, and what we've performed in the past. But that's a big. It's been a big gap, and at a time when Manchester City and Liverpool have been dominating, it's been horrible to kind of watch, just waiting for us to hopefully wake up and say, Stinky Blinky Johnson, Rashford is the GOAT, Rashford is the GOAT, Rashford is the GOAT, Rashford is just, it's just superb. And I mean, probably the final wasn't his greatest game by any means, but he's got that moment in him as well to change a game, So yeah, it did remind me a little bit of the past, but I think what I like about Ten Hag is he's respectful of the past, but he's not one that kind of harps on constantly
100%.
about it. And he's like, it's good. That's the morals of the club. There's a lot we can take from that, but we're this team in this moment in time. And what we're facing is, there's that quote, isn't there, about eras come to an end, is the one that everyone's sort of pulling out, that he's trying to end the dominance of Manchester City for a longer period than Liverpool, and in recent years, Liverpool as well. And it's the EFL Cup. There's much more we want. There's much more to go for, but you start somewhere, and that's a perfect start. So, I mean, did you, as you were watching it first half, Newcastle probably, I think it's fair to say, better into possession without really troubling the boxes. Did you think as the game was progressing, okay, Newcastle are looking good here, this is going a particular direction?
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I don't want to take any disrespect off Newcastle because they've done really well this season. Obviously, Eddie Howe's doing brilliant with them. But I just think at the minute, and it's even similar to yesterday when United obviously went 1-0 down against West Ham, it just reminds me of the old Manchester United where you can't write them off now. And even when they go 1-0 down, or even when obviously the Arsenal are not playing well, I just expect them to win. And it's just really good to watch as a neutral and someone from around the area. And obviously Manchester United fans as well. So it was a happy household anyway.
It's a happy household, which is what you want, as a happy household.
I know. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think as that first half went on, the goals kind of came, particularly the first one against the run of play. At that point, Newcastle hadn't troubled the goal, but were fairly consistent in getting upfield, pushing United back, and that kind of free kick, which there's discussions over the VAR line, and the question was Casemiro offside and all the rest of it. If I'm honest, when it first happened, I couldn't see it, and I think it's the angles of which that they're showing with the lines is very difficult to get that kind of view. So, and I'm always, when it comes to a big decision like that, a big VAR call, particularly when it's your own team, it's so very hard, I think, to be objective, no matter, because anything that you see, I think that's close, you immediately think, oh, that's fine. But if it was the other way around, you'd be looking at it going, oh, but look at that, the nail on his little finger's offside. Surely that's the case. So I think it's difficult to remain objective. So that first goal, Casemiro, of course, we've got to talk about Casemiro. I mean, he's just something else, isn't he? I mean, I knew when he came he was a winner, but I mean, did you think he was going to be this good?
I just find it, I know he's a quality footballer and he has been like where he's been, but just so quickly how he's adapted to the Premier League, because it can usually take, especially a player who's played abroad for so many years, it can take them quite a while to adapt. But I just think he's absolutely phenomenal, and just having his winning mentality, and obviously Varane as well, born winners at the end of the day, and just having people like that, it's just absolutely fantastic. And I just want to as well, I want to give credit to Weghorst because the stand-up player just works so hard as well. He never gives up. And just someone like that, like, he's not a big name and he's not like a star signing, but watching him the last few games as well, it just seems to just get stuck in there and he just never gives up. And them are the type of players that Manchester United need and have been lacking in the past. So, yeah, amazing. But Casemiro in particular, I enjoy watching him. I personally think he's my signing of the window so far. He's just absolutely brilliant, and just what he's done for Manchester United already.
It's as you said, that
really
that leadership. leadership aspect as well as like the control and the fact that, there was a question. I remember Graham Souness in something like, he can't pass, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in the way that he's playing some of these balls out. And I think Lucas put it perfectly on the podcast on Monday, which you can check, by the way, still on YouTube, obviously, talking about the whole weekend football and that on that with Lucas. Charlotte was on there as well, and Josh. But what he put well was that Casemiro is only 30, and there was question marks over the signing, and of course the fee, because everyone. But 30 as a midfielder now is nothing really. Is nothing for that quality. And I think the questions were, what was he coming for? But I remember the interviews where he was saying about the challenge. He was looking for a challenge. He's won the Champions League 5 times, 3 La Liga titles, an insane amount of trophies, and he wanted something. And you could see it in the season. I remember the goal he scored against Chelsea and the reaction he had to the fan. I mean, in the final, there's him and Martinez just pumping the crowd out after tackles at the end and patting each other on the back, and that just seeps through the entire team. That's I think we're seeing the raise of players like Dalot, like Shaw. Obviously, I think the coaching and what Ten Hag's brought in as well, but those players, to have those players around, you look around and go, that guy's on the battle line with me. And, he's Martinez. I mean, unbelievable. Those players just make such a difference. And like you said about Weghorst, I think, he's not ultimately going to be the striker next season. They're going to go and get somebody who can score goals. But the job he's doing at the minute, he's creating a bit of havoc up there. He's prepared to fight. He's prepared to run and build the play up a little bit. He did it last night against West Ham for the 3rd goal. Obviously, him chasing down, easy goal for Fred. And I think that's infectious as well. And he smiles as well. It's just to see that man with a trophy. They just look so. I mean, Chris says here, Casemiro's mentality is absolutely immense. I can't disagree with him.
Yeah.
And the dressing room being healthy, they all look like they're working together for that. And that unity kind of coming together. And so for them to get the reward of a trophy takes the pressure off a little bit for the end of the season, where there's obviously bigger prizes that we would like. But to have that trophy and looking like Champions League is secured, hopefully already from my perspective, I think that helps Ten Hag, doesn't it? In terms of this next stage of their development, takes a bit of pressure off.
And you've in a job, it's not a long time at all, and what he has done already for them, and just it kind of scares me but excites me of what he can actually do in a long period of time, for him to do it like so shortly and what he's done already.
Yeah, it does. You think you hark back to that kind of the short-term period, and I remember the Brentford game, because the Brentford game where we got smashed 4-0 at the start of the season, and there was question marks immediately over. I was at a wedding in Swansea where I was sitting there listening to the speeches as goals were going in. Every time I checked my phone after another speech, it was another goal. I was just sat there thinking, I need a beer. Someone get me a drink. Someone pour me a glass of wine. This is terrible. But both the bride and the groom, in the middle of their dinner, came up to speak to me about the Man United result getting pumped on their own wedding day. I was just thinking, this is low. This is low. And that 6 months down the line, even consider, even if it's the EFL Cup, even if it was, whether they call it the Mickey Mouse Trophy, the Bugs Bunny Trophy, I don't care. It's a trophy from where we were, and that's where you've got to start to build. Still a trophy. You've got to take it. So yeah, I mean, we had the first goal. The second goal, obviously, it was Karius at fault. I thought it was I think a better keeper does save it, but I don't think it was a pure error. I think Pope might save that, but he was low and it kind of deflected up from Rashford. So I think it's difficult to really be too harsh on him. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely, and obviously. It's hard as well because he's not played a football at all, has he? He's just come in and he has been thrown in at the deep end. And as much as we've seen him, I remember him for the howlers that he has done against, obviously for Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I do sympathise with him a little because obviously he won't have the confidence behind him. He has not got obviously match minutes. He's not played much, so I do sympathise with him in that respect, and I do think a different keeper on the day could have possible. It still counted, and it's got Manchester United to win. I don't think he was awful in there. I did expect him to be a lot worse. So yeah,
he made some good saves in
play
that second
to him.
half. He did.
He
He
did.
made some good saves. And so that second goal coming so soon after the first just gave I felt quite calm in the second half. And that was another point I think people picked up, that this Manchester United over the last 6 years, the post-Fergie era, is they've not been a team that can hold a game, that can kind of shut a game down to say, right, we're ahead and now that's it, we're comfortable. Because you always feel someone's going to make a mistake, someone's going to get out of position, Wan-Bissaka's going to get caught at the back post with a cross across, Maguire's going to get pulled out. But you just didn't feel that. You just look at them and you just feel that they had it. For to see us close a game out that way was almost more impressive than going and blitzing somebody 4-0 and just being fantastic attackingly, because it just showed maturity and it just showed that we can manage the situation of a game and have different things we could go to. So that for me was massively impressive. And so that second goal just coming so quick after the first was just shell shocked. And Newcastle were very wobbly then up until half time. It could have been more, but I don't think I'll ever forget the second goal, because I was sat here watching it in my lounge, right? And so the second goal's gone in. I've jumped up in excitement thinking, and I've got like a little run to my hall. So I was having a little jig, you know, I was a bit like Fergie used to do, we used to just down the touch. And I went for it. And my daughter was stood there at the bottom of the stairs, who's currently sort of, we've moved on to toilet phase. She's 3 years old. So she's in that. Yeah. But she's got this knack of pants down before she goes up to the toilet. So I turned to celebrate. She stood there and she's excited. So I was like, I picked her up and we're jumping around. She's getting excited. And then suddenly she goes, Daddy, I really need a wee. So I didn't get a chance to see the replay because I had to leg her up the stairs.
Oh, bless her.
Just kind of, she wanted to join in, but I was like, Daddy, this is great. But
bless.
I didn't really see the replays of that until half time because I had a different situation that I needed to urgently deal with. But it's nice to have those memories alongside a goal. Down the line, I'll tell her and she'll be embarrassed 20 years later.
Bless her.
Bless her. And so just going back to the Karius point, Chris is, Karius on the way down for the low shot when Rashford deflected, did caught him by surprise. Pope stays a bit longer. I think you're right. Yeah, I thought he got too low too early and wasn't there able to react. And some of that, as I think you said, Charlotte, is probably match play as well. He's not been playing a lot of games and suddenly he's in this big situation. But so good saves in the second half. So it's kind of nice that it wasn't a goalkeeping error he's got absolutely battered over the last week. And so you do feel a little bit for him. If he'd have thrown one in the net or something, it would have been horrible, but it didn't happen. And what do you make of, because there's been a lot in the press since the final about the celebrations, I think it's difficult to kind of get that right in the mid-season EFL Cup final. You've won a trophy. It was the goal. You have to celebrate it. But for me, there was a lot of people kicking off at United players for the celebrations and look at Ten Hag dancing. But every interview you heard with the players were, we've got a big game next week and we've got to settle down, and they got them on and a bigger prize. What did you make of the celebrations?
It really, because at the end of the day, they are only human, and it's the first time a lot of them have won a trophy in England. It's the first time a lot of them have won a trophy at Manchester United. Like, obviously, you've got like Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes. You've got players like that. So I feel like they deserve to celebrate after the last few seasons and how hostile it has been in the past. And it just really infuriates me. It's like the whole, it's a Mickey Mouse Cup, but then you see videos of Liverpool in the past celebrating. You see Manchester City in the past celebrating. It's not a Mickey Mouse Cup to them, but because it's Manchester United now winning it. But I like seeing people celebrate, no matter if it's a different team, no matter if it's Manchester United, if it's my own team, because for them it's an achievement. And you think of how hard they've worked already. And obviously, if they've come off the end of a World Cup, it's been quite a tough season for many, all the games, all fitting in and stuff. Marcus Rashford, he's obviously struggled last season. Sancho mentally, this season, he's got to the place where he is now. And I just think it's so annoying people like having a go at them and criticising them for celebrating, because at the end of the day, we celebrate our little achievements. Like if I achieve something, I'll get myself a takeaway. I'll go to the pub. We all celebrate our own achievements. So why can't these footballers?
Charlotte's EFL Cup, the local Chinese takeaway. Well done. Dancing like Ten Hag around your sweet and sour noodles. I think you're
it's
right.
Really good to see.
It's good to see. I think you have to see someone enjoying, not just in football, like I say, even in my kind of working life, is with a team and management. I think that's a good thing. When you have a success, you have to, because otherwise you're just constantly kind of on this sort of dragging. What are you doing it for? You've got to take those moments to succeed, and it brings everybody closer and tighter and knit. And that they look around and go, yeah, we can do more of this, which is obviously the mentality Ten Hag's trying to install in them. So, and you do. I mean, everyone's done it. I think you get to that phase with other clubs, and I've seen it and been kind of in that position last year. When your club's not doing anything, then it's easy. You're looking at someone to do something against one of the other rival clubs rather than your own clubs.
Definitely,
And a lot of the chat I'm seeing of United is reminiscent of some of the stuff years ago, which is kind of a little bit of the fear factors back a bit. They're talking about United, and rather than being an embarrassment and laughing and all the rest of it, there's a bit of, knock them about this, and they shouldn't be celebrating, and they're over the top. It's only who did they beat in the EFL Cup run, which, to be fair, the run wasn't bad. The run was, a lot of home games, a lot of teams that we were capable of beating, but you can only beat what's in front of you. There's just finding the holes, the nitpicking, and it just suit the narrative. But that's kind of, I think, what United want, because it means that people are seeing us dining back at the big table soon, And so it's 100%. Only short term. So the main thing is they just need to make sure it doesn't turn, because we've had this before, the Mourinho Cup win. Louis van Gaal won an FA Cup, got sacked straight away afterwards. So he's done to build beyond there, but that it doesn't become a one trophy wonder and then everything else drops down. So I think Chris is, other clubs are obsessed with United, whether they're winning or losers, and I think a lot of that is it's the brand value in the media. The media always talk about United. It sells numbers, it sells papers because of the size of the club. So it's just something you have to deal with. But I enjoyed it. I can't lie.
I enjoyed it. I'm neutral, and I've said it any time. It's so good to see now Arsenal and Manchester United back at the top, because obviously we've seen Liverpool and City for so long now. So it's nice to have them teams, and like obviously your teams, your Brighton, Brentford. It just makes it so much more interesting. Newcastle's as obviously they got to the final. It just makes it so much more interesting, especially for a neutral.
It's fresh, and just to touch on Newcastle, I thought, I mean, the fans at the end of the stadium cheering, the atmosphere that they had in the stadium around and trying to do it, you can see. I felt a little bit for that team for Newcastle, because I think Newcastle are obviously going places where they're going to possibly be there. But a lot of that team, I don't think will be. They're a transitional team to an extent, aren't they? Some of those players, like the Dan Burns, this is your chance. This was possibly the one that you had. But it was fantastic for the fans who have, since '99. That's a long period to not be there. And say that I quite like the Newcastle fan base, I've got to be honest, and I like the passion that St James's Park and all the rest of it brings. So I think Newcastle have got definitely sunnier days ahead, that's for sure.
Yeah, of course. I really liked it as well, because obviously they've had obviously dealings with their ownership the last few years and stuff, and they've suffered a lot down to the Championship, and then coming back up to the Premier League. So it was really nice to see their fans actually enjoying themselves. Obviously, they've lost in the final against Manchester United. It happens. But to get to a final, and it was really nice to see, especially with all the difficulties they have obviously overcame the last few years. So it was really nice to see their fans celebrating something.
I think so. Do you worry for them a bit? Because I think I do, in terms of a Champions League place now, the effect that this could have. Obviously, Tottenham started to win games. They dropped out of the top four as well, kind of at the same time.
Yeah, I do kind of worry for them. I do think they have overachieved as of such with this team this season. I kind of do feel for Eddie Howe, though, because I feel the more he does slip down, his job is at risk, even though I feel like he is doing wonders. I just think with the money they've got, Newcastle, they could obviously tempt a bigger
Somebody
name
else, yeah.
to club. So I think he's one I kind of worry about the most, because as much as he's doing great, obviously he's built the team back up and stuff. They could obviously get a bigger name with the money that they've got, and the players obviously they can probably get coming to the club with the money and the budget you have now.
I think that's the question, isn't it? With Eddie Howe, is
Yeah.
I think he knows he needs to make kind of that store and that stamp, and we're all expecting that this investment will continue. They'll keep building, and for them, I think we'd all said it at the start of the season. For Newcastle to make the Champions League is way ahead of where the development should be. So if they, I think even if they finish 5th, 6th, not a disaster, but just where they had been to where they're kind of coming to. Is probably would burn a little bit now that it looks like, as it looks at the minute, and stuff can change. We've still got a lot of games to go, but with Arsenal, Man City, United sitting just off of that, Tottenham starting to pick up, Liverpool now starting to pick wins up as well, so they might be challenging them from behind. Josh, see, look, we're being nice to Liverpool. Being nice. You might be in a challenge for the top 5. You never know. and Lucas has got potentially a big celebration to come if things go the same way for him. So, so Newcastle, I do worry a little bit. And then, as you said, Eddie Howe, perhaps at some point, it's going to be interesting how the owners handle that, I think, with Eddie Howe over the coming time.
Definitely.
But for sure. But so we've covered Manchester United winning the Carabao Cup. Wasn't it lovely? Wasn't it wonderful? Hopefully we can do the same again. Maybe in May, maybe multiple times in May. Multiple times in May would be nice, but let's not be greedy for now. Just hope that we can carry on. And so we said off air, I was very pleased they beat West Ham last night, because we planned this episode and I thought kind of puts a little bit of a down. We just come off how fantastic knocked out at home to West Ham in the FA Cup, which did look like it might have been on the cards at some point. But again, that I think showed the bounce back in the team, the reaction to going behind, and they were poor for a lot of that game. But then that last half an hour was electric. Yeah. It feels like the old United a little bit, that when you're pulling the goal in, you're pulling the ball into the goal. There's the fans at Stretford End screaming for it. They're piling forward. The pressure's building. It's very, very high. And Chris says FA Cup final is the beginning of. When's the Europa League before or after? There's so many competitions, Chris. I get confused which one's going to be when. Europa's usually after the FA Cup final, isn't it? But
I'm sure it is.
Maybe June. It'll all get excited, and I'm on holiday at the end of May anyway, so it might have to wait a week. I suppose I could do it from the beach. Celebration on the beach for the next trophy. Sounds a plan. Sounds lovely. But no, thank you, Charlotte, for coming and joining me and talking about Manchester United.
No, thank you.
So no, you've got another podcast to do today. Do you want to plug out where who you're going to be talking to very shortly?
Yeah, I'm actually on a Stevenage podcast talking about Rochdale. Unfortunately, talking about Rochdale. I'm not looking forward to that bit, but I'm looking forward to being on the actual podcast as a whole.
There you go. Just talk about Man United. Just be like, no, I've decided we're going to talk about the Carabao Cup final. I'm just going to talk about Casemiro. There you go. And so, Chris, just before we go, I just added, there you go, May the 31st Europa League final. So just about May, possibly some rounds to go for that yet, and Arsenal win that as well. So could be interesting. But you can catch us, of course. We are the Absolute Football Podcast. You can catch us on Mondays at 8:00 live, and so we do a Lite by 8 o'clock. Charlotte's got a special episode. It's still on the channel to watch. It's going to be there forever. So you can catch that whenever you like. All about Charlotte. And we've got some guest episodes that we're going to be doing soon with some people as well. So we're looking to advertise that and get out. As always, thank you for joining us. Great to have you in the comments. And Charlotte, where can everybody find you?
Well, I am most active on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok as SharXRAFC, and all my Her Game 2 Rochdale stuff is Rochdale Hey GT on the same. So that's where you can find me everywhere.
Everywhere you can find Charlotte everywhere. And of course, catch the Steve and his podcast as well. I'm sure Charlotte will be sharing that out on the socials, so do check that out too. I'm at Up the FM Ducks, which you can find Up the FM Ducks, all one word, on YouTube, my YouTube channel. I've got MLS. I've ranked all the MLS kits, all the new kits for US Major League Soccer. It's just started over there. There's some funky kits there, so it's quite fun to do that one. I'm looking to do a few more football bits on the channel too, but you can find me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, again, like Chart, everywhere. Up the FM Ducks is what you're looking for. That's what we do. And we are on Twitter. I think we said, Josh, Absolute Ball Pod. Are we on Twitter? Absolute.
Yeah,
We'll try and put that. I'm sure we are. You can find us. You can find us through Shah, mine's link. It'll be, not a problem at all. But thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's been a wonderful light bite. And we will catch you soon. Take care. Good evening.